Well, the road to Darlie Land is no longer under construction, and people have been flying up and down that freeway like they're freaking crazy. So tonight I've been trying.
People have been flying up and down that freeway like
Yeah,
they're
let
freaking
me turn
crazy.
this down, down, down.
So tonight I've been trying.
You stop that, mister. Okay, let me swing this back over here, and I'll get back to what it was that I was doing. Okay. Da da da. No big dramatic. No big dramatic intros or nothing today. I want to get this done. I want to give Christy Cooper, who was a Kerrville court official, court security, when the Darlie Routier trial went on at the end of '96, and we're going to give her a chance to speak. We've been at, the Darlie case is all in an uproar right now. Everybody's at each other's throats again since Danelle, her baby sister, has been speaking out, and we feel like she's putting inaccuracies out in the case, and we've been doing what we do, which is debunk them, and it really ticks them off when we do that. And you'll get the same supporter behavior that we even saw on this channel 10 or 12 years ago. The same types of things are happening again. We can try to be cordial with these people as they insult us, as they talk down to us, as they speak to us like we're children, which I have, I've showed in my phone conversation with Danelle that I just tolerated it. I saw Danelle. I still see Danelle as a victim. She's a victim of what Darlie has done. She's a victim of how she was, how she had to live in that. We're gonna try to get Cristy up here. We're going to try and get Cristy up here. She's never been on a panel before, and it's been quite a while since I've done one. I have had some interesting panels before about this case and interviews and stuff, but that channel doesn't exist any longer. I studied the case for quite a while. I backed off of it, when the people that know that my son has been convicted. I backed off of the case because I started to feel, I felt a little bit like how that family felt, except our cases are totally different. I'm not trying to convince anybody that he didn't hurt a child. I'm not disregarding the lives of a child. I'm not doing that. The difference is they feel like she's innocent and fuck everybody. Anybody who thinks she's not innocent is a psycho weirdo who is harassing them, and she needs to go to the police. And the same thing will happen. Darlie Key did this same shit to me years ago. And then let me present this while we get Cristy up here. Let's see what happens. Let me present this real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Let me go right here. Get some volume on that.
History repeats itself.
Okay. Let me present this real quick, and then we'll get Cristy up here. It's been a minute. Let me see here. If I can't find a way to get her on the panel, she can call me, and we can do it that way. Either way, we'll figure it out. Let me share this for a minute. Because history's... Okay, just a second, Cristy. I'll get into... my group. It kicked me out of my own group that I created. Right? Because I wanted to give Danelle a chance to speak. And I knew what the end result would be. All right? Some of these people that are in support and non-support now, they don't know some of the stuff that happened before. So, I knew what the end result would be. You know, we'll be really super nice to them, and they'll show their ass in, and by the end, you're harassing them, and you're going to jail, and look what your family did, and I'm calling the police because you're harassing us. This is not the first time that any of this has happened. But let me present this real quick, and we'll get Christy up here. The Darlie camp is all in uproar. Okay, now I'll play this. I think I know who this is. All right, now this is not the first time that someone has accused me of the frickin' crime. Darlie Key did this herself publicly. That's why it leads me. That is not Darlie Key doing that. Okay, that's not Darlie Key. They know that this pisses me off. But I'm willing to bet this is somebody that's on Darlie Key's friends list. I know what that DJ means. Okay, well, I can't prove it, so I'll only give you my speculations. But let's listen to this.
Oh God, how history repeats itself. Now you see that Danelle is in here, right in here, laughing and joking about me. We're watching all this stuff. All right, and this has been done before. This right here. I have a question. Where was Bryan at on June 6, 1996? And see, they've done this before. Darlie Key did this before. She said, I want your print. Where were you at on that day? I want your print. All right? They've done this before. So this is going to be very easy because I've already been through all of this same shit with you people. Now, is that funny to you? Right there, Danelle? See, that's you. Right here. And there's more of you. So when you file things, get to filing. Well, I mean, yeah, my son is a murderer. Yeah.
Sure is convicted.
But Danelle's dad is a child molester. Would you let Danelle watch your kids? And we all know who this is right here. Miss Vanska. But anyway, I've been through this before with them. The same exact shit with them. And I'll respond the same way that I did before.
Give me just a couple minutes, Christy.
I have no fear. I put my name on these things. This is in the Dayton court under CRB 007876. My name right there. That's my prior address right there. Long time ago. Right? Criminal damaging. Somebody busted out my car window and I went back and did it to him fighting over some girl. I pled guilty to that.
They want to know where I was
Problem.
at.
I had to pay for his window. He had to pay for mine. No big deal. But look at these dates. See these dates?
I was the same place Tommy Lynn Sells was. Not the same.
Sure, I'm
jail.
in jail.
They tried that on Tommy Lynn Sells too. They'll blame anybody but Darlie. See the date right there?
And the case was closed.
6/6/96. I was sitting in jail over.
That's where I was. I was in Montgomery County Jail fighting this little case right here for a day or two.
I just wanted to clear that up. That's where I was. For those who are questioning, duh. It's pretty bad that I've got this stuff.
And just so you know, I have no problem with saying who I am and where I came from and stuff that I've been through.
Oopsie.
I've got no issue with any of that.
I'm an open book, folks.
But you can see I haven't had any trouble. This is the last bit of trouble I have. It's more than,
Right before I got with my current wife, who keeps me out of trouble.
Been there, done that.
No, I just
a lot of these cases, though, you'll see.
I don't
I
drink
took
anymore.
things to trial. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Close, close, close. Look them up. That's me, Miss Sullivan.
I'm an asshole. But anyways, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to put my big old face right here. Oh my God, don't nobody want to see that. And I'm going to take this invite. And we're going to get let Miss Christy Cooper have her say, because she's got a taste of some of the anger, and we'll find out about how she was involved with the Darlie case, how she knows Darlie, and a little bit more about her since she's had to take. If you click on that link right there, it'll let you backstage. It should. It should. So since Danelle's been out, and I've been seeing her TikToks, and she's got lots of followers. I've been seeing some of the things she says, and everybody knows me that even though I'm not as actively involved in the case as I was before, when someone comes out and they speak something that isn't true, then I feel like it's my duty to correct that with civility. You got it, Christy? Is it working? Let's see. There she is. Oh, I see you. You get ready to come or get ready to go live.
Should have probably brought my...
Well, it don't matter. You've been through a lot.
It's been a long day.
I did brush my beard though before I came on here. Because it just goes out like this and I look crazy.
Fancy.
Yeah. So you've been dealing with this a little backlash from these folks too, right? Because of where you came from and some of the stuff that you.
According to Sully, 30 years ago. It happened 30 years ago.
Well, Sully gets a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, so I worked at the Kerr County Jail at the time of the trial, and I was the jail secretary. So upon being a secretary, I had a few other duties. I was also a licensed jailer. We had very few females as jailers, so I had to fill it in. And part of my duty with Darlie, I had to deal with her mail, her visitor list, her commissary money, all of that. I had to scan her mail, like that for attorney mail. That's privileged information. You can't touch that.
Was she getting a lot of mail while she was in the jail there?
She got quite a bit. She wrote quite a bit. Cards. It was weird. It was almost a kid writing letters. They were very like a teenager.
Yeah. Your mic is cutting in and out, and you're kind of roboting.
I can hear.
I don't know why it's doing that.
But it was really weird. She didn't seem like a trial for murder.
Yeah, even the doctors that testified, they said that she just didn't seem like a mother that was in shock for what happened. We had two doctors testify to that, and then you're not the only jailer that we've spoke to, who said that she just didn't seem like.
No, you would have there for shoplifting.
Yeah. And then there was this. Sully gave you this issue about where Darlie Key she fell in the ice out there.
Yeah.
Now, really, we can. If I saw somebody, there's YouTube videos of people slipping and falling on ice, and it's just freaking hilarious. Unless they get hurt.
Happened anytime.
Right.
It was like January 5th. It was icy, and it did not courthouse. This happened at jail, where visitation. There is a on the. You buzz, you get buzz. Gate locks behind. Then you go through the doors for only one time. You go through the first one, it closes. The next one, you go through that, and then you're in. Visitors sit down, pick up the phone, look through the glass, and talk to the prisoner.
Are you in any of the footage from the KXAX, or are you in any of the? Because there's a lot of courtroom footage of people coming and going.
No, I was never. I was.
Were you aware of Bruce Davis? Did you have to sign people in and out of that courtroom? No. So, Greg Davis' brother Bruce says that he was in that courtroom. We just don't believe him. That's all.
Nothing to do with courtroom.
Right.
I fielded all telephone calls for the included a complete media service. Every time I called,
Let's see if we can fix your sound because I can hear you, but the people that are listening, they're not able to hear you. Uh, do you want to call me on Gmail, or maybe we can fix your sound because we want to be able to give you a chance to speak, and it sounds like you're just
okay, you tell me.
it just cuts in and out on you.
Mm, hold up.
We'll get it right eventually.
Try calling.
Let me try that. I'll call you with my Gmail number, so you'll drop down from here, and I'll just have you. I'll go back and I'll call you. Let's do that. That'll work. Let me go check. We want to be sure that she gets a chance to speak, and we'll see if it works this way. I'm gonna call her from my Gmail. There it is. Because I want to hear this too, and and by God, this technology sometimes beats us down. All right, let me go to my Google Voice. I used to do this all the time, and it's been a while since. All right, let's see here. See if this works. That'll be me. Now let me go back over here.
Hello.
Now let's see if they can hear. Can you guys hear her? Sing us a song, Christy.
Oh, you do not want me to sing. That would be awesome.
I think they can hear. It'd be better if we could see your face, but sometimes technology just doesn't let us do what we want to do.
Sorry, guys. You're not missing anything.
So you were telling us about how people entered the courtroom, the jail.
No, the jail.
Yeah.
The jail. So if you came to visit someone that was there, you buzzed on the outside gate. Now what happened is it was an icy day, and Darlie Key came up, and I guess even maybe as she was trying to hit the buzzer afterwards, not sure chain of events, but she slipped and grabbed the chain link fence on the way down and busted her ass, and I think broke a few of her red fingernails. Now, when you're buzzed in, the cameras are right there so everybody can see, and it was recorded, so we got to see it on playback. I didn't even get to see it live, but everybody else that was jailer did.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed because she had given everybody hell for weeks. She was a tyrant. She had to have her way. She bulldozed over everybody. She was rude, crude, and socially unacceptable.
Well, there's two different clips outside of that courthouse. One where Norm Kine, he was giving an interview. They asked to speak, and he was trying to tell. He was just got done saying, well, the evidence points to there was no one else in that house. And Darlie Key stepped into the interview, and she goes, "You're a liar, and you know it, don't you?" And then he said, "Do I have to interview in front of this trailer trash?" Which he maybe he shouldn't have said it, but
No, he shouldn't have.
But Darlie Key's next response to him was, "Don't you start on me." Now this man had an interview with the news, and he was speaking live on the news, and she called him a liar.
She was always confrontational.
And then there was another time that she was coming into the courtroom, and she was in a pair of jeans and a gray shirt, and Norm Kine was standing there again, apologizing. He was saying, I shouldn't have said that, but they've been doing this and that. And she walked past him, and she goes, "Yeah, he's up for election. He's up for election, right?" Did you ever see that clip?
No.
She got him twice, and she's always trashed the people of Kerrville.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're not talking badly about Darlie Key. What we're talking about is what things that she's done, and she really did not like the people of Kerrville. She said they were conservative. The jurors just read.
That's true.
Yeah, well, they're like the rednecks. They were jealous of Darlie.
That's not true.
And she just kept on trashing those people. Anybody that was against Darlie, she was against them. And these people had to do their civil. It's your civil duty when you get a piece of paper that says you have to come and sit and listen about how 2 children got killed. You know, they pick on
were well-respected members of the community, like Linda Gibson. She was a beloved teacher here. I mean, she went down in the hearts of many as being their favorite teacher ever.
Yeah.
And she was on, God rest her soul, she's deceased. She was the nicest woman. And then there's Charles Sanford.
I actually did an interview with him and had him on my channel.
He was actually a family friend. I don't remember him because I was very young when he was friends with my grandparents. But I think he was a very confused man about some of that. They did see everything, and every other juror can testify to that, the ones that are alive. They saw all the pictures. They saw everything.
Yeah, he did say that if I would have knew now what I didn't know then. But even if he says he didn't see the pictures, they went back. And even if he didn't see the pictures, all of the bruising was discussed in detail. So
exactly.
And when I talked to Charles, I got the impression that he was a little country boy.
Yes, he was.
He may have been a little bit slow.
Yes.
I got the feeling.
Very nice.
I got very kind, very kind. Well, Darlie Key and them got a hold of him, and they shared with him that book, Media Tried, Justice Denied, written by that wacko Chris Brown.
Yes.
With the Photoshop stuff and the misspellings and the weird theories. But Darlie Key and them went and met with Charles Sanford, and they took pictures with him at some and so they got to him. And
that should have been a lot.
There's this show called Dead Again, and Charles Sanford appears on that. If you can,
I've not seen it.
It's called Dead Again, and he's on it. Now they didn't call Darlie and Darren, but they had the same house. They didn't want liability. But these two detectives sit down, and Greg Davis is on it, and David Neighbors. Dead Again, if you watch that, Sanford's on there. But Sanford says he didn't see all that, and I don't know why he didn't see it, because it went back. And even Barb Davis admitted that it went back. And did you didn't see people coming in and out of the courtroom, though, did you?
No, only if I watched the news.
Right. There was the prosecutors in the case claimed that they had to pick a different way out of the courtroom each and every day.
I did hear that.
Yeah, because they would chase them out to their cars and holler at them. And you know what? You can't blame them.
It's a small town, and the courthouse is literally in the center of town. It's easily accessible from four corners, and the parking lot surrounds the entire thing. So it was very easy for them to just look at every exit. But there ought to be a sally port underneath the courthouse, because the jail used to be above the courthouse.
Yeah.
Before the new jail where I was the secretary came. There was not a jail secretary before. So when the new facility was built, I became the jail secretary. But when the jail was above the courthouse, there was a sally port underneath, just like there's a sally port at the other jail, where the car comes in, everything's locked and closed behind you, so they can take the prisoner out and walk him through a secure door. So yeah, they had to use different. It was ridiculous. It was a media circus.
How long did they? Now Darlie Key and them, they were staying there in that town somewhere, or were they traveling back and forth?
Oh, I think they were staying in hotels here.
Yeah, because I heard, and I can't clarify any of this, but I heard that the citizens were very friendly to them.
Oh, absolutely. They would have not been. I mean, yeah, it was a media circus, and most people had seen it on the news, but they're not just going to be rude to people, even though it's a conservative town. They may have gotten a lot of stares if her family was maybe in a restaurant or something and people happened to know who they were. They may have gotten stares, but people wouldn't approach them.
Well, sure,
people wouldn't be rude.
Yeah, and and I can understand that too, because it happens to me. With my son's case and all that, people know and all that. That's okay, but because I'm not the one that's trying to say he didn't do it. You know what I mean? So I don't know what kind of stares they were getting. Darlie Key is very assertive, very aggressive, and I will give her credit. Now, let me give her credit, because I can't say this enough, though.
When my son called his case and it went national news, the first one to message me was Darlie Key. And she was telling me she's not judging. She knows what I'm about to go through. If I need to talk, I can talk. And I asked her, I said, what is the best advice you can give me? And she said, do not talk to the media. That's what she told me.
The hard way.
That's what she told me. And there was a time where Darlie Key and I could pick up the phone and call each other when I was on the support end of it.
She was doing what she could do for her daughter. If you believe your kid is innocent, you're going to fight tooth and nail. I get it. But she really went about it wrong in a whole lot of ways. You don't make yourself a lot of friends or supporters when you're, a tyrant.
I have a supporter in the chat that says that my son's case was not national news. When people start talking about it on YouTube, they live in different places. That's where Darlie saw it. That's where Darlie Key saw it. It made the national news. Like, what city are you from? No, it wasn't on like CBS or CNN or anything like that. But it was in.
I personally knowledge of it.
Yeah, I will say that. She wants to say it wasn't national news. Okay, good. It wasn't. But Darlie, it was all over YouTube, because I had been on YouTube and I've been covering the Darlie case, and I've been covering like Halo Stutzman and Cooper Harris, and mostly young kids. So and my channel had several thousand, and people were coming to my channel. So that's why I say national, because everybody from everywhere knew about it quickly. As a matter of fact, it was the very next day that Darlie Key messaged me. So I'm listening.
On the internet, if you're into true crime, you're gonna find these cases and hear about them. I mean, I just wasn't on the internet a lot, so I didn't hear about it. I apologize.
Right. Well, I was all over. Like I said, I was all over. I was in the missing Bevers case out of Midlothian, Texas. The lady that came up missing out of the church there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Tracy saying that I brought it to YouTube. No, people, come on, Tracy.
But I really want to address what Sully said about the story about Mama Darlie.
Yeah.
She completely put her own spin on what I said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to lie about it. I absolutely laughed at her. It was funny. I have nothing to hide. I told the exact story, verbatim, how it happened, but somehow when Sully made her video, she completely changed it. Look, even if I wanted to open the door and laugh in Darlie Key's face, I couldn't have.
No.
My office was probably 6 doors between me and her.
You would have got,
I could open any of those doors if I wanted to, because the control operator in the control room is in charge of every door.
You guys knew way ahead of time that trial was coming to your town, right?
Yes, we did.
What do you think the general buzz was in Kerrville before she even got in the courtroom about what did people think?
I think a lot of people were honestly horrified. Everyone will mention that it's on the tail of the Susan Smith case, and it kind of was.
Yeah.
That got people prepared for hearing that someone really could kill their own children. I remember the Susan Smith case. I didn't have kids yet, and it really was very upsetting to me, but not nearly as upsetting as the Darlie case, because I had a child by then.
Right.
And it hits differently when you have your own children. And I tried to put myself in her shoes and think, how would I be acting if I was falsely accused of murdering my kids? And it definitely wasn't how she was acting.
No, a lot of people say that. A lot of people. It started in the hospital.
That is my most clear memory of her. Clear as a bell, like it was yesterday. And that was the day before my birthday. It was February 4th. And it was the day of the sentencing. And like I've told people before, she got back to the jail and she had to change from her court clothes back in her jail uniform. I was standing in the booking office, which is right where the room was where she was changing. There was only a half wall separating us. I couldn't see her, but I could hear her, and I was making eye contact with the jail administrator. who was a woman named Carol Swift.
Right.
And I looked at Carol, and I locked eyes, and I motioned to her like a needle in my arm, and I shrugged my shoulders, and she nodded her head yes, and so I knew Darlie had gotten the death penalty. You know, she was going to get the needle. And then Carol looks at Darlie, and she goes, "Darlie, are you okay?" And I kid you not, Darlie says in her little mouthy, disgusting voice, "I'm sorry, I find this voice very grating. I'm fine. I'm sorry. You falsely accused me of murdering my kids. You put me on trial for it. You convict me, and then you put the death sentence on me. I wouldn't be fine. I would have to be sedated." Sedated me.
Right. But just being the devil's advocate, if she knows that if she freaks out, she's in custody. Right? She did go to a lot of extreme, in my opinion, like the Jeffrey McDonald case, sort of. Her staging and the way she's acting and stuff like that. I mean, she's got some balls. She's got some balls.
There was a lot of acting.
And even in the Dallas County Jail, when she went back, we were hearing some of the same stuff from jailers there. So how? I mean, after she got sentenced, I mean, what was the aura in the officials of the Kerrville in the jail and the court? I mean,
Somber. It was somber. Everybody was hushed.
Yeah. Did you
Muted
guys?
Station. In jail. I mean, I don't know about the courthouse, but in the jail, it was every person that worked there they were just silent little rumblings amongst each other, talking about it like, "Oh my God, that she got the death penalty, she's guilty, blah blah blah." It was a big deal. It's a conservative place. You don't hear about that kind of stuff here. You just don't.
And so afterwards, I'm pretty sure you studied the case, right? I know you studied the case because you were right there. You got to look her in the eye. On the evidence end of it, you were never a Darlie supporter, right? You never supported her innocence, right?
No.
So,
absolutely not.
On your end of it, what part of the evidence would tell you that she was guilty?
Well, they'll call it all the circumstantial evidence, but the fact that there was no evidence of anyone in there ever, the fact that she knew these are my reasons for thinking she was guilty. Not everyone else's. Okay, I'm not speaking for anyone else.
Right.
I think what she said on the 911 call was very telling about someone came in here and did this, Darren. I promise. Why is she trying to convince him of anything?
Right.
I think because he came down those stairs, he knew it was her.
Right.
There were just too many things. The knife,
and the change, the change in her. Well,
I will forget if I don't mention this, by the way.
Okay.
So, there was a gentleman that was a jailer at the time, who is now the sheriff of Kerr County, Rusty Herholzer, and he has done some blood spatter stuff in the past, and he would talk about it at length to some of us, and I learned a lot from him. I can't remember everything he said, but it all made a lot of sense then, and none of it has never not made sense to me. I've never questioned whether she's guilty or not. I know she's guilty, and I will die on that hill. The fact that no one heard the dog didn't bark.
He did not. Domain did not bark.
And how did Darlie know within seconds that nothing was touched, Darren?
Yeah, that's what. And I was gonna say, if you listen to that part where she goes, "Somebody came in here and did this to me and my children, Darren," and then she changed. Yeah. She went from that stern back to "There's nothing touched," just that quick. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with "I promise," I heard that too, and supporters say they don't hear it, but I heard it. I promise. And I did a video. Yeah, what?
I heard that one. I heard the "I promise."
I heard that. And then there's this whole issue with Darlie saw this show that told her wet towels are good to stop bleeding with. This is what Sully said. Darlie.
She did see that.
Huh?
Garrett had 7 years. He claimed 7 years of first aid training, CPR.
Right.
You don't think he could have told her what to do?
Right.
You don't think she could have a 911 operator? What do I do? How do I help my baby?
Right.
They're already dead.
She didn't do that. And like I said, the whole wet towel thing. She didn't come up with the wet towel theory. She didn't come up with the wet towel theory until she saw that they took her kitchen sink.
Exactly.
Her story changed. And even if Sully, let's say Sully was correct, they told her to put wet towels on. They also say apply pressure. She sets a wet towel on Damon. And let's look at this too. There's no evidence of wet towels being dragged from that sink to the floor. That there's no evidence of water anywhere.
There would be watered down blood droplets everywhere.
Right, and then she was holding a dry towel to her own throat. And
she was applying pressure with that dry towel as well.
Right, and there's evidence of a cleanup at that sink, no matter what anyone says, because there's handprints inside. There's blood drops on the inside of the cabinet. There's a handprint in there, and the cleaning at the sink wasn't going to be done by an intruder.
No, and they will claim, oh, it all happened so quickly. Okay, if this all happened so quickly, okay, I've heard Danelle say that they probably were peering through the window and saw Darlie asleep on the couch. So they peer through the front window, but they go around the back. Where do they get the knife from the inside and get back outside to cut the screen and then come back in through the screen and not disturb anything with the dog cage, cat cage, all that crap that was in front of the window inside the garage? How?
Darlie's
then they make it in. They don't steal anything. They murder 2 unsuspecting sleeping kids before they even get to Darlie. And how does she know that? I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. But I've heard several times she says, I woke up and my boys were dead. They were. How did she know that? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't.
Well,
I'm losing my train of
all
thought.
right, let me go. There's first she said she woke up because Damon, who was mortally wounded and 5 years old, tapped on her shoulder and calmly said, "Mommy, mommy." Then
No way he could even spoke.
Right, and then she said that she woke up and saw the intruder leaving. Right.
But then she woke up, she was fighting.
Well, check this. Yeah, so if she woke up and saw the intruder was leaving, when did she fight with him?
And when did he cut her?
We have to remember that she was attacked with a knife, not a ball bat. Okay, and
Exactly.
some of the bruising, the doctor said that they occurred 24 to 48 hours after the alleged assault on her. And I'll tell you another thing that's really telling to me in the case that I've studied is that freaking sock. That sock screams.
Oh, yeah.
All right, because there was a faint blood, light blood of Damon and Devin found on light blood as if it had been dipped. But one was in the toe and one was on the side of it. So if somebody had a shoe on, you wouldn't have been able to see it. But it was just light blood, right? So if this intruder used the sock to cover his hand and stab Devin and Damon, how come none of Darlie's blood was found on it? Where'd that that splurting wound from her neck, how come none of that was on the sock?
Exactly.
Right, and if you can imagine, an intruder using a sock, to cover their hand. What they see these kids laying there, and they go, "Oh, we're gonna kill them. Let me get this sock over here out of the utility room and put it over my hand." But it's only 2 faint light blood on the sock of Devin and Damon, and these kids there was blood all over that house. But
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's what didn't. Let me get this out of here, man. This is crazy.
And we may never know the exact cadence of events. We might not. There will never be an accurate timeline unless somebody confesses. But we can speculate that Darlie wasn't bleeding when that sock got put out there.
No, I don't think she was. And they keep on talking about how deep her wounds were and how she almost died. If you put your hand,
Right.
If you put
I'm
your
so tired of seeing that.
if you put your hand up on your neck, you can feel your jugular. So anybody that gets cut there almost died. Almost.
Well, you're gonna bleed a lot.
It
You're
only
gonna bleed a lot.
it only went through the fat. It only went to the fat and a small amount of muscle. And Danelle was trying to tell me what the medical definition of a superficial wound is. She's, no, they did. The doctors thought that she was injured badly, and Santo.
You look at what happened to the boys, and she came from the same crime scene. Yeah, they're going to think the worst, and it probably looked really super bad with as much blood as you could see.
Right,
and so they had to get like that.
Right, and when they
got in, they realized, wait a minute, this isn't bad at all.
And when they got in there, they got her into the surgery. They were expecting to see like the larynx, the trachea, these types of stuff damage, but all it was little. It was a small wound, and it was just the little blood vessels that were damaged. So they were glad they cleaned it up.
Also, what is this claim I keep hearing about Dillon holding pressure? I have never read that, and I don't remember it. That doesn't mean it's not there. I'm not saying that she lied about that, because it may be in there, but I have never seen anywhere or remember hearing or even reading about him holding pressure before they could do an emergency surgery.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I've seen that. I'll go back and look at it, but no, I don't think there was no one that had to hold pressure on her neck even when she was leaving.
Exactly. They didn't even have to do it on the scene. They
right.
didn't even hold pressure on the scene.
Well, Danelle sat on the last defense and said that the doctors decided that she had lost so much blood that they needed to move her over to intensive care room because she had lost so much blood. But the doctor's testimony was, had it not been for the extenuating circumstances that she had just been through an attack, that they would have sewed her up and sent her home.
Exactly.
So who's lying here? Who's the best expert? They brought in DeMaio, right? They brought in, and DeMaio had to admit that the best experts would be the doctors that dealt with her. Now, Vince DeMaio has been an expert in lots of other cases, and I will say this, I'm going to slip off to something else about him real quick. Vince DeMaio said that Lee Harvey Oswald did not make those shots from the Texas School Book Depository, and he said that those shots came from the building next door. That's what DeMaio said. You can take that and do whatever you want with it.
Brian, were you the prosecutor on the grassy knoll?
No, but I'll tell you what, I've been there. I've been there, and you know what? That was like the coolest vacation I ever had. We were going down to Houston and up through Rowlett and all that, and we stopped at Dealey Plaza, and I'm telling you, I'm fascinated by the Kennedy case. Always have been.
I just recently delved back into it because of that silly post with the two pictures, and someone asked, do you know who this guy is? Don't Google it, and I Googled him, and I was like, wow, that is a very interesting story. So I just recently delved back into it myself. Yeah,
so me and my wife, we went down through there. That's when we stopped in Rowlett, and people asked me, what were you doing at the scene? See, they say that, well, he's been to the scene. Well, we're down there.
A lot of people have been there.
Well, yeah, well, we're just going there, and it's up for
sale. There's so many crime junkies. People love it.
Yeah, we were going to go by there. I just wanted to see it. Well, here's the thing. The house is up for sale. There's going to be an open house. So I took that opportunity, and I was a Darlie supporter. I took that opportunity to go in there. It was an open house. And no, they did not divulge it. Yeah, and somebody told me, I was talking about when I was in there, and somebody said something about the sliding glass doors in the back where Darlie was at. Well, I thought those were all windows because they had carpet rolled up and pushed up against that. I never knew those sliding glass doors were there. They were like, well, you weren't there. But there's a picture of a roll of carpet that's rolled up to when a big roll of carpet. But I stood right there and I saw it, and yeah, it was something different. That house, every now and then I just Google it, and just look around, and that's such a beautiful place, with that evil. And then I was looking at something because I dove into when I had to look at Gorsuch's testimony. So his house came up for sale. So I actually there's a picture of the window that he was looking out when Waddell pulled up. You could literally see the whole
line.
Yeah, you can see.
It's a beeline right here.
Yeah, and they say that they crime fighter Lloyd Harrell, he's an ex-FBI agent. He tried to say that Waddell let that intruder run right past him.
That is a crock.
and they're just absolutely no way. You know, because and I did get a chance to speak to Gorsuch's wife. He passed away. She didn't want her name involved in it, so I'm not gonna put her name in it. And I asked her if I could put it up because I recorded the call, and she asked me not to put her name in it, so I didn't. But she told me, and the simple question was, she said everything that was said on the stand is what he saw, and what I saw, and there was no confusion.
No, there was no confusion.
No.
Other neighbors, there's no confusion about the teddy bear toss either.
No, well, they tried to say that was Darren and Dana.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't.
They don't even look alike.
Because Netta Dean, you know, and the people would say that they, you know, these cars were coming around, and you know, these black cars were just looking through the neighborhood, blah blah blah. But you have a $6,000 water fountain in your yard for everybody to see. Yeah. And it was nothing. Yeah. And I'm telling you, when we went up that way, they were saying, you know, that Beja saw somebody stop behind the garage, and they looked like they were looking in the garage, and then they backed out and went away. Well, that's the same way we left that area. Because we knew that if you go down the end of Darlock, you know, you get lost in the Platte, it's easier just to back out, and go down Eagle and go up Linda Vista. So I can see a lot of people doing that.
All those claims are just silly. And also, Darlie, how was anybody following her? She didn't even have a car at the time.
Yeah, and you know, if the intruder was going to be so good at what he did to not leave any trace of himself in that house, no trace, he damn sure is not going to park his car in front of it and stare at it.
No. You know, the supporters, I don't know that any of them have ever, like, taken their own thought process and written it down to match her chain of events, even any logic behind it. There's zero logic. If you believe Darlie's story, there's a lot of gymnastics in that you would have to believe happened. And it does not make sense.
There's just there's just no sign of a struggle whatsoever. None.
No.
And they've tried to say there was two people and that Darren.
Oh, that's Chris.
You can't put one in there. And you know,
exactly. One person there, much less two.
Right, and I've tried to push them over the years, and you know, because Darren keeps saying, he said over and over, I asked multiple people to break into my home, but he's never named one of them.
Anyone, exactly. There's that, yes.
And so they say that the investigators aren't looking at anybody else. You know why? Because Darren didn't name one of them. And if he would have named them, they would have got investigated. And quite possibly, if it would have happened that way, one of them would talk.
Oh, absolutely. And here's my other personal theory. You take how many witnesses they had on the stand with the doctors, the nurses, every witness, basically. You would have to think that everyone conspired against Darlie, someone they didn't know, someone they didn't give two shits about.
Right.
I mean, you've got these people that came from nothing, that made some really good money at a really good time, and then they spent it like they'd never had money in their lives and lived beyond their means, and they got in debt. They were, 2 mortgage payments behind, couldn't even procure a $5,000 loan for anything, even though there's speculation about what the loan was for. There's the talk of the divorce that night, which I guess some people are denying.
They can't deny it. The speculation on the $5,000 loan is, one, they wanted the loan for Terry Neal and Karen Neal to go on a cruise with them. The second one that I heard was that Darren tried to co-sign for Dana a new truck.
Yes, I've heard both of those.
Now, Nada has asked, what are your thoughts on Behind Criminal Minds YouTuber featuring the case and pushing the Fen made her do it narrative?
I took Fentanyl before. The only side effect it gave me was a dry mouth.
Right,
and
Right, and she wasn't out of her mind because Darren and them said she wasn't out of her mind. So that Fin, it takes a while to start working in your system, and there was just no sign of it, no sign of the Fin having anything to do with her until she kills somebody. even let's say the Fin made her do it. The key words are made her do it. There's no drug that makes you kill.
No, absolutely not.
And that's not an excuse in a court of law.
No. And we may never know motive either. Was it filicide? Was she getting back at Darren for having something to do with Dana? I mean, we may never know these things. And I'm going to give you my other personal opinion, may align with some others. I think that Darren's involvement started when he got to the bottom of the stairs. And I think that he stayed quiet all these years because he would implicate himself as well if he implicated her. And she can't implicate him without implicating herself.
Checkmate.
So they're just stuck with this story.
So here, I spoke to a private investigator named Tina Church. She runs the Other Victims Advocacy. She's a pretty big investigator. She was involved in this case too. She was hired by Darlie Key to find innocence and help find innocence for Darlie. And after she did her investigation, she didn't want to go on record, but she told Darlie Key she could not find any innocence. And she was not going to make a report. But her friend, Tina Church's friend, is Patricia Springer, who wrote the book Flesh and Blood. That book...
Oh, I remember that one.
That book is based on an investigation that Darlie Key paid for to find innocence. And the Flesh and Blood, outside of Precious Angels, Flesh and Blood is the next one that makes her look the most guilty.
Well, did Darlie Key pay for it, or did GoFundMe, everyone else, pay for it?
I know that they've done a lot of fundraising and stuff like that. We didn't do a bit of fundraising for my son, none, because we knew he was. We were going to let the courts do its job and show the evidence. So and there are technicalities in my son's case that we probably could raise some money and raise a big stink about what happened in his court trial. But I'm not down for him getting out on a technicality because he still did what he did.
I find it very admirable in you, Brian, because a lot of people wouldn't be like that.
Well, I look. There's no bright side to this, in for Darlie or for us. But I look at it like this. I can hear my son's voice if I want to. I can see his writing. I can go see him if I want to. It's been a long time. And I can give him a hug. His victim, his family has to go see him at a grave site. Mm-hmm. So I'm very fortunate, and I feel glad that my son did not get the death penalty, because by all means he deserves it. It's just the law in my state is not the same as the law in Texas.
Gotcha.
Now, if my son were to have to give his life for taking someone else's life, it would drive me insane, but I'd know that society was doing justice.
Absolutely. It would be horrible.
He wasn't raised that way. He did. I'm the only one that had in my family, I believe, that has told him face to face, I don't want to hear this innocent shit no more. I don't want to hear it. Because all the evidence pointed to him. But at first he was telling us just, he didn't do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give my son the benefit of the doubt until they prove him innocent. And the day they proved him, I knew he was guilty. But the day they proved him guilty, I did a YouTube video, and the only person that I apologized to was Braden's mother. But all these other people coming at me, I understand how the Routier and the Key family feels, because sometimes people will know who they are but don't want to say nothing to them, just be looking them up and down like, oh, that's the sister of, or oh, that's the father. I've had people bother me on jobs before.
Well, I hate that they're being blamed for Darlie's actions because it's not their fault. It's not Danelle's fault. It's not Mom and Darlie's fault. Darlie did what Darlie did. Mm-hmm. We may never know why, what possessed her that night, how long she planned it, but I'm pretty sure it was just her.
Yeah, and
when Darlie Key also had that interview, and she says that she asked Darlie, and Darlie says, "No, I promise I didn't do this. I saw a man." I'm sorry, if I ask my kid a question like that, I already know the answer to it.
Well, see,
and
I've used that before too, because Darlie had said in other interviews that the thought of her doing that never crossed her mind. It never crossed her mind that Darlie would do that. But in another interview, she would say, "I asked Darlie, is there anything you need to tell me?" Okay, that's crossing your mind.
Oh yeah, it is. But they have a lot of Freudian slips.
and speaking on, what's that, baby? And speaking on, what do you need? You want my shoes? She's gonna let the dog out real quick. Thank you. Danelle does not want to touch on, we try to get to the bottom of this case and find out what could have led Darlie to do what she did. And to me, childhood has a lot to do. My childhood was ridiculous. You guys just saw my criminal list. I didn't kill nobody. But it takes a while to come out of stuff that's happened to you as a kid. So when I brought up the fact that Darlie sat on the stand in a capital murder case and accused Dennis Stahl of fondling her starting at the age 8 years old. Starting at is what she said. And she didn't go into a lot of detail. And Danelle just doesn't want to talk about that, thinks it has nothing to do with the case. But it does.
It does.
Okay, let's look at it. 1, he's done this to her. 2, she tells her mom, and her mom don't believe her. 3, he continues to do it to her while mom is living in the house. She has to be around this guy every day. And then mom goes to get a job, and she's home watching the kids all the time. So she lost her childhood innocence at 8 years old. And then she became a mother around 13, watching the kids. This is all according to Darlie's own testimony. Right? Darlie flat said she resented her mother. Okay, so she's bottled up inside of her that this man had been doing this to her.
No one protected her.
Yeah, but now they want to protect her. So, and I wasn't down for bringing other family members into things until they started to do this. And if you want to talk about, Danelle says, Sully Danelle told me she sees where my son got it from.
So does that mean you can see where Darlie got it from? I mean, about fair play, say something that damning.
Well,
you got to expect it to turn around on you.
If you guys go back and look at that chat between me and her, she did say, "I just didn't want to see my dad in a bad light." So maybe you don't want to see your sister in a bad light either.
Right.
She's denying that her father did it.
I want Darlie to be guilty. Let me make that loud and clear if there's a supporter in the I don't know who's in the chat. I do not want Darlie to be guilty. Mm-hmm. I will eat crow from here to Rowlett. But I don't think I'm wrong.
No. And if someone, let's say, if they really think she's innocent, show us.
Yeah.
And when you show us, right, my next thing would be to focus on going after the Dallas. I know that the Dallas Police Department can be shitty. From 1960, from Bonnie and Clyde to John Kennedy, all the way up. I know. How do you think Jack Ruby got in that freaking basement to shoot Lee Harvey Oswald?
Kind of like
I'll give you the answer real quick. Let me get on this. I'll give you the answer of how Jack Ruby got into that. He did not walk down that basement ramp. Okay? If you look at where the Western Union is at 2034, it's right behind Captain Fritz's office.
you could see Captain Fritz's window from that office. Ruby hung out there a few minutes before he went in and bought that $25 money order. And then when he saw Jim Lavelle was the only detective wearing a white suit, the one that was going to be handcuffed to Lee Harvey Oswald. He was supposed to be transferred at 10 o'clock. He didn't get transferred till 11:10. They were waiting on Lavelle to get there. Lavelle gets there, cuffs himself to Oswald, and stands up in that office. Ruby sees the white suit. He knows they're going to the basement in less than 5 minutes. 4 minutes later, Oswald's dead. That's how he got it. That's how he got it. What is it?
There are no coincidences.
No, and if you go to Google Map where Fritz's office is and where that Western Union is, all you got to do is step out on the street and wait for that white suit to show up. Then you know that you go in, and right under Fritz's office, in the back side of that, there's a door right there. You can walk right into that unlocked door, straight down to the basement. Check it out.
People are
Oh, right now we don't have a whole lot, but this will get views tomorrow. Right now we only got people we know, 10 or 12 people. But it'll get views later on.
Everything we say can be later on. Is that what you're saying?
No, my views usually come later. Now, my first Darlie channel, I was getting hundreds of thousands of views. People would come and listen. But they kept on...
Let me clear up some misconceptions about TikTok as well. So a lot of people are saying that Danelle's in it for the money. She's not.
Mm-mm.
She's not making much money off that, trust me.
No,
She's not in it for the money.
She's not in it for the money. Danelle sincerely believes that Darlie is innocent. She has been raised.
I can almost feel sorry for Danelle sometimes. I can almost feel sorry for her sometimes. But then she opens her mouth and it goes away.
You know, she says that I'm harassing her, yet I've never called her.
She'll say everybody's harassing her.
I've never messaged. I've been nice to her, and you can listen to where she's talking to me in that phone call. She's degrading me. She's insulting me.
Oh, she was absolutely.
And the whole time, I'm collecting evidence, chick. I'm collecting evidence. Because I know sooner or later they're not going to like me proving them wrong, and they're going to say I'm harassing them, and they're going to call the cops.
That's the problem. Reporters they can't stick to the facts or the truth. They got to go off on these tangents and then get personal attacks about your own personal life or your personal looks, and it's just ridiculous. Stick to the facts.
Yeah, like Sully put up the thing about my son's case, right? And she got a lot of those details wrong. The first thing I'm thinking is, if this woman's getting this stuff wrong on my case.
She gets everything wrong on every case. That's the problem. I went to her little podcast, The Kitchen Table Research. I did not listen to their entirety to the first 4 episodes for Darlie Routier, and let me tell you, it was infuriating because there were so many wrong things.
I didn't see it when I went to her YouTube. I didn't see anything about Darlie on there.
It's not on YouTube. It's on another platform.
I'm not even gonna waste my time with that one. You know, Danelle is so upset, and you know, I put that picture up before in video form before. It's been up before. The same things were being said. It's been on.
If you post something on social media, you lose every. There's just no expectation of privacy. Once it's out there forever.
Well, what I raised was a very good question. If Darlie sat on the stand and said that he did this to her, then why is any child sitting on his lap?
Exactly.
That's the question. Why did they not press charges on him?
That's another good question. Probably because Mama Key talked him out of it, and that's just my own speculation.
Can you imagine?
how?
I feel
like she's more protective of her husband than she was of her kids.
Can you imagine how pissed off Darlie was from 8 years old on?
Oh, it was probably a burning, seething hate that maybe she didn't even know was underlying all of the time. Trust me, I had an uncle underlying thieving hate for the same reason.
Right. And they keep going these different routes. And they say that the Innocence Project only picks cases that they know someone is innocent. Well, they've lost out on 42% of their cases.
Yeah, they just don't like the death penalty. It's more of a crusade to not have somebody be put to death, whether they're innocent or not. They don't.
I'm gonna tell you, if they execute her, I'm not gonna sing and dance about it, because that, to me, that doesn't solve anything. But I'm not gonna protest it. I wouldn't protest it. I would feel sorry for her family that she put them through this.
Absolutely. She has put them through this for that many years. This has been pure hell for them.
There's just no way that Darlie will ever admit to what she's done. Just like my son will never admit.
Ever escaped stigma. How did that poor kid ever escape it?
Who's that, Drake?
Yeah.
Like Helena had said, she saw, she had Drake wrapped up so tight that he was blue.
And then there's the part in the high chair where she just left him there.
But those people are liars.
They're liars. And all the people that lied about the birthday party shenanigans, the letting the kids wander around in construction sites, was it? A house that's being built, maybe? Something like that. I mean, there were probably 5 different people that testified to different things that they saw that she did that endangered her kids or showed that she could care less.
Well, the things that I know that people testified to, like her putting the cake in Devin's face, and at the pawn shop saying she's going to beat their little asses, stuff like that. To me, that doesn't make her a killer, but it doesn't make her the neighborhood PTA Nickelodeon mom neither.
That part. It doesn't make her the doting mom that they are trying to portray her as. And I think those kids were just little things that she dressed up, she used for attention to for herself. I mean, everything was about Darlie.
Nada asked us, do we think that if she was put on trial, she would get the same guilty verdict? Yes.
Yes.
Because Craig Watkins, who started the integrity, the conviction integrity unit in Dallas,
I think he thought the same thing.
Yeah, he felt the same thing. They looked over Darlie's case, and if Darlie had any chance of being innocent, Craig Watkins would have got her out. They reviewed the case, and they feel that the jury got it correct.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she would get the same thing. I feel like that if she brought in experts on a new trial, you would still have the doctors that saw her, that DeMaio admitted the best experts to speak on Darlie's wounds are those who treated her.
And let's clear up any misconceptions about people saying that she was not tried for both because they didn't have enough evidence. That is stupid and asinine. They didn't try her for both because they didn't have to.
Well, that was strategy. And even Darlie herself says that trial was about both Devin and Damon, and her own words on, I think it's Herzog, but she said it. That it was a strategy. Let's say that their evidence wasn't good enough to get her convicted for Damon's death. But it might have been good enough to get her convicted for Devin's death. See, sometimes evidence just isn't good enough. And sometimes defense just isn't good enough. So, they could literally pick up charges on her if she got some kind of appeal and got out.
They could charge her for the other one.
They could charge her for Devin, and I bet you the fuck they would, because the state of Texas and Dallas knows that they got the right.
And why are some of the supporters so adamant that doesn't happen? That happens in a lot of murder cases, where they don't try you for everything. So they have an ace in the hole for later if your appeals come through. Well, I mean, it's not unheard of. People think that's not true.
In my son's case, they charged him with 2 counts of murder, involuntary manslaughter. They had a long list of charges for him. But each charge has a different level of punishment. So if they couldn't get him for this type of murder, then they could get him for that type of murder. And they got him, so how can you be charged with two counts of murder when there's only one body, because the levels are different. It's a strategy. And then they say that the prosecution had a mock trial with all the nurses and stuff, which they didn't. They can't prove that there was a mock trial, but the prosecution.
I'm trying to bring that those people were all coached. That is not true.
No, the thing with the focus notes is this: legally, they can't give their opinion on the focus notes. They can only give their opinion legally when they're asked their opinion in court. The focus notes had to be, the focus notes had to be, well, she's crying. But at court they can say, yeah, she was crying, but there were no tears.
She was tearful.
She seemed flat.
Tearful.
So those nurses did not lie on the stand. They gave.
In this, the medical records are the standard of whatever that she keeps claiming, and they don't match testimony. Well, it's not going to be verbatim. And there's different words that you use when you're writing a medical record than you say out in public. I mean, the layman isn't going to understand you if you're using all this medical terminology. So they're going to say, look, their wounds are superficial. I mean, it's so, and she'll say, you're arguing semantics. No, they are arguing semantics.
No, the medical definition of superficial means a slight wound. And she was trying to tell me that was not the medical definition. And this is a person who treats people in the Dallas area. But she was trying to tell me that superficial does not mean the severity of the wound. Yes, it does. That's exactly what it means.
And then the talk of, what was she saying? Hold on. Oh, darn it. I just lost my train of thought again. I apologize. It's been a long day.
Mm-hmm.
Move on to the next thing. It'll come back to me.
It'll come back to you. I get like that too. They tried to, the whole thing with.
Oh, the hemoglobin, the drop in hemoglobin. Okay, let me tell you, I've had 2 blood transfusions, and it's because I lost enough to receive a blood transfusion. Now, also, your hemoglobin can go down when you have a period. Now, Danelle claims that Danelle had a blood test done in March. You don't know how many periods does she have between March and June? I mean, things change. You cannot go by a test she had in March to this. And I'm telling you, if she needed a blood transfusion, if she lost enough blood to need one, they would have given it to her. They're not going to deny you that.
No,
they're not going to say, oh, yeah, let's just not do it.
Well, like I
said,
said,
did not say she was in hypovolemic shock. That's bullshit. Her vital signs were stable on scene and stable when she got to the ER.
Exactly. I used to know her exact blood pressure when she was from the porch, but they did
on the scene. 140 over 80.
Yeah, something like that's pretty typical. You're not in distress with that. They also did the. They did the.
I can tell you, 20 times in the 3 hours I am there, my blood pressure goes, and my systolic will be in the 200s, and my diastolic will be over 120. And you know what? I'm not in hypovolemic shock. They don't even bat an eye.
Darlie was never in shock, in my opinion. They did the field the test where they press in on your thumb. And how fast the white goes back, that's a field shock test. And they determined she was not in shock.
Yeah, that's capillary refill, and everything was normal. Everything was normal.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can tell by her talking to the whole 911 call, she was fine.
Yeah. And it's sad that they don't like for us to tell the things in the case that a lot of people don't know about, like the vacuum cleaner. I'll give you an example about the vacuum. There was blood drops on the side of it as it was flipped over, but there was also blood drops on the handle, right?
That dropped straight down when she was standing over it.
Yeah, it's very telling to me, and the fact that like the glass that was broke, it went from the living room to the sink area, right? She said.
Darlie used the vacuum as a crutch. Why would she need a crutch?
Yes, she did. Yeah, she wasn't leaning on it. She was running back and forth. But now she said she was running back and forth, giving him wet towels. But she was going right through that. Because was she giving him wet towels before the intruder broke the glass, or after?
Huh?
Because she's they swear
says that the intruder left Darlie for dead. I'm sorry, if you're actively fighting with this man and then you're chasing him out the door, how does he think she's left for dead?
Yeah. He's not going to drop his knife. He's not going to drop his knife. He's going to turn around and use it.
He's not going to leave that behind to arm her.
Sully said, well, if she threw that knife, there'd be blood splatter because of it. But Darlie's own words were, he dropped his knife. So,
And I picked it up.
So Sully, study the case.
Well, it's like she doesn't even pay attention. She just wants to say what she wants to say. It's going to be her version.
And well, you know what she's doing, and it's just Danelle even hanging over there with her. What they're doing is making Darlie look worse.
Well, they're definitely not making us look worse or look bad at all. I mean,
No.
they make themselves look,
I mean,
like continue going against the actual evidence, transcripts, and
well, it's like how is Danelle? Now you've watched this whole situation with Danelle since you came to our group. How's Danelle going to sit and go to the police and say that I am harassing her?
Well, she's harassing everybody else. Like she messaged me first on Messenger. I didn't reach out to her. And oh my God, she cusses like a sailor. I'm like, you kiss your mama with that mouth?
No, she was, and it's like last night. You know, I was willing to talk to her. She messaged me, snapping at me, and she calls, and I said, hey, I can't talk right now. My kid's room is not too far from here. You know, and I didn't want to. Now talking like this, I'm cool, but with her, she'd be screaming. I didn't want to hear it. She did it last time, so I said, my kids are sleeping. I can't take a call, but I can chat. And then she called again. I said, I've already told you I can't do that. So, and I said, look, I've told you. She kept calling over and over and over, right? And I told her, I said, my kids are trying to sleep. She said, I don't give a shit, and called again. So that means she didn't give a shit about my children sleeping.
And why do you need her permission to call the IP?
Well, I don't.
No, you don't. You don't need a
And you know what? By her calling me and being triggered by me making that call, I got exactly what my answer.
That's a lot.
I got my answer. My answer was that the IP did not ask her to call. And
No.
if the IP asked her to call and just have random people from the public to call them with evidence, that means they don't have anything. So she's triggered.
Exactly.
Either way, she's triggered. And I knew that would trigger her. And she fell right into it and made an ass out of herself. That's why I kept telling people in my group, you know, Christina was so mad at me when I let her in. She booted me from my own group and blocked me from my own group. And then we talked about it. I said, I know what I'm doing. I'm looking at the big picture. And I got the big picture. Yeah, I got the big picture.
I have another question. So, in 27 years, I mean, Darren has gone off and just started his own life doing something else. Why isn't he looking for that murderer? Why isn't he trying to find justice for those boys?
He did say he would never give up till the day he dies.
You never hear stuff from him at all. There's no one out there, like, doing anything. They talk about it.
Yep. Well, you know, and why is Darren with the girl that he was with before he got with Darlie today?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
That girl, that woman that Darren is, quote, married to, Cindy,
Uh-huh.
that was his girlfriend before he was with Darlie. Did you know that?
Oh, I bet that pisses Darlie off.
And Cindy is the nicest woman. She is so
Well,
kind.
that's good.
She comes from,
I think Darren's a snake. I'm sorry. I don't know how anybody could think he's not involved in this. He was way too chipper and gleeful at the gravesite as well. It's like he was excited about everything. It was that's all weird, and the whole we should talk about the children's home thing as well, by the way.
I tell you, when she stood at that gravesite, when she stood there and she said, next to her two kids in the ground, she said, gossip is the worst evil in the world.
Not the person by babies. That's not the worst thing in the world. It's gossip.
And Rena Way, and little Rena Way, she said, she was spraying that silly string and snapping her gum on that show. I tried to get a hold of that woman, and she won't answer me. Yeah.
Oh.
She's on Facebook, but she would not answer me. I would have loved to speak to her.
As we go, time wanted a piece of that. I think I heard from every show out there. They were all calling the jail.
Well, we were really in some serious talks with the production company for Dr. Phil. We were hoping, and Dr. Phil said, his production told several of us that the only way that he would cover the case is if someone from the family came on the show. So we put it out there. And Darlie Key flat out said, there's absolutely no way I will go on his show.
What was she afraid of?
Because he ain't going to buy it.
If I was out there and I thought my kid was innocent, I would go on every damn show I could get on. I would just be from the mountaintop. Anybody who would listen to me, I'd be telling them.
Especially Dr. Phil.
Especially Dr. Phil.
Now I will say they might have went ahead and gave that a shot, because Dr. Phil had on Shanann Watts family. The Chris Watts case, and I know that case really well. I was able to speak with Frankie Routier, her brother, a lot, and I know that case. But when Dr. Phil said that one of the Bella's bones were broken to make her fit in that oil tank, he was dead wrong. He was wrong. But they didn't want to touch that. They didn't want to touch that. And then I also brought up brain fingerprinting, which is they hook you up and they ask you questions that pertain to a crime, and your brain will trigger you whether you want to lie or not. Your brain, if you have knowledge of it, it shows it. And brain fingerprinting's been used in cases to exonerate people, to find people guilty. It's used for FBI and CIA applicants now, and it would surely tell if Darlie's lying or not. It'll put an end to it.
No, I would like that to happen.
They won't touch it.
No.
And it's been around since 2007. They won't touch it. I think that Darren needs to start saying, who are these people that... You can't say the police didn't investigate everything when the witnesses to the crime aren't giving up all the information.
Uh-huh.
The reason they didn't investigate everything is because Darren's sitting with it. Right?
Yeah.
That's the way I would look at it. So I just assume that Danelle's going to go off. I feel sorry for her when the IP drops it. I think Danelle's going to lose her fucking mind.
They're going to lose their mind, and it's going to be a sad day for Danelle. I don't know that I feel sorry for Darlie Key that often, but there are times that I do feel sorry for Danelle, and again, I don't. It waxes and wanes with me, depending upon what she's saying about me.
Just think of a child that was raised in a cult.
Yeah, honestly, this is a cult.
And I do feel sorry for all of her family, but when their behavior, I don't feel sorry for some of their behavior.
Incorrigible.
Yeah, Darlie Key flat told me, I think 85J is your print, and I want them to run it against you, and I think you were here, and they're pulling that crap today. Where was Bryan at?
An older lady on TikTok. I forget what her TikTok name is, but she claims to know the family, and she said something to me about, I don't remember when it was. It was so freaking funny. She's a bit of a nut job, and she has a lot of outstanding claims that are outrageous, and even for the supporter side, I'm surprised the supporters aren't correcting her all the time, because she is out there.
They don't correct each other. Now, like there's been times in the past where I put something up and it wouldn't be totally correct, and I'm telling you, like people like I don't know what happened with Mary Moody, but Pam and Christina Foger and Camilla Sadler, they were like, no, Bryan, that's not right. They wanted
exactly. We edit ourselves. We do.
And Pam has caught so much stuff from these people. And I'm telling you, Pam McCollins is one of the classiest women I've ever met in my life. I mean, she can own these people with perfect calmness.
Absolutely. I don't have that. ability myself.
She does it so smoothly, like it's just so cool. How she doesn't
But
let him get.
my delivery leaves a lot to be desired at times. I'm very just matter of fact when I talk, and a lot of people take it as being rude when I'm not even being rude. So there's that. But honestly, I don't care if they think I'm rude or not. I really don't.
I kind of tell people like how I feel, and Pam knows how to be rude without being rude.
Exactly.
There was a time years ago where me and
when I'm not being rude, I sound rude. Okay.
there was a time years ago where me and Pam were at each other's throats, and it was almost going to be a debate between me and Pam. And I tell you, I ain't never been so scared of anybody than her, because she has her ways, and and I'm telling you, when she stopped talking to me, and when she got mad at me and put me out of the group, she had every right to do that and every reason to do that, because I was an asshole to her, and instead of going back at me and picking at me every day, she just cut me off. Boom. Silence is loud. You know, I was out. She had me out of her group for about 5 years, and but since Danelle came back, I think she, you know, me and Pam aren't going to be close like we used to be, but she knows that my fight for Devin and Damon, you know, she knows that's why I want to be here. You know, I'm not trying to be famous. I'm not trying to make any money off of it. It's just something that.
We're not haters. We're literally trying to get for those two boys, and they call us haters, or we're trying to get 15 minutes of fame. No, I'm not trying to get 15 minutes of fame. My real name's not even on there because she blocked me. I would totally tell. My name is Christy Cooper. I don't care.
I'm telling you, when my channel was, when I had 5,000-7,000 subscribers and people were watching my Darlie videos and getting 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 views, I never monetized on it. Never. I never made a dollar on it.
I would have put it on my regular TikTok, where I already have quite a following. I would have put it on there. I didn't do that. And all I made are reply videos that are stating the facts. They can dispute that all day long, but they're right there.
Yeah. I wish there was I would say
TikTok's on May account.
I only use my I only use my TikTok to act damn fool.
My regular TikTok is obnoxious. I mean, it runs the gamut of obnoxious animal stuff, medical stuff, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. So you don't do anything with the courts or jails anymore? You had no law enforcement or nothing for you?
No. That was in the 90s. My father-in-law at the time was involved in law enforcement and had a pretty high-profile job, and I got the job at the jail because of that, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I was really young then. That was 96. I was 21, 2.
Yeah.
I was young. And I mean, I've been a volunteer EMT for a small community I lived in. I worked for a doctor here in this town for like 17 years off and on. And then I was a sales rep for a major company traveling. And I'm not working right now because of my health.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm in the same boat. I know what it's like, but not, I went through the close to what you mine. I had trouble too with that, and I had to have a couple surgeries. But I know what can happen. I looked up what can happen if, I don't want to go into too much, but I know how bad it can get. And like I said, I was at the beginning of that. Mine started with 10. My body just kept producing kidney stones over and over and over and over, and kept having surgeries. So I was afraid. And luckily, by the good Lord, I'm not having to suffer like other people do.
Oh, I don't feel sorry for myself. Every once in a while I have a pity party, but I tell myself, somebody's got it way worse than you, Cristy. Somebody's got it way worse than I do.
Oh, yeah.
I can get up, I can drive myself to dialysis, I can drive myself home from dialysis. I might only have one kidney and it's in failure, but I'm still on the right side of the grass, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Becky Boo's asking, she says, they always say that they took Drake away from her mom and Darren because they supported Darlie. So what does that say about Cyrilda? Didn't she support her too? When Cyrilla got on the stand for the custody battle, what she said was, I've already lost 2 grandsons. I'm not going to lose another one. So she promised on the stand that she would not let Darren see him unsupervised, and she would never let Darlie see him. But the thing
that's Cyrilda probably knew the truth.
Yeah, the thing. Well, after that, she supported him. But the thing with Cyrilla is that she was a children's services worker. She was a CASA worker.
So she was.
So she knew the people. Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, she knew those people, right? And that's one of the reasons why Darlie, in my opinion, was afraid that if Darren ever did leave her, and I honestly think that night that he got sick of her saying, well, I'm going to divorce you, I'm going to divorce you. I think before he went up the stairs, he said, good. Because in the morning when I come down here, you get your shit, get the fuck out of my house. I think he got sick of it. That's what I think happened. And now
the
here...
bullshit about her saying, oh, it wasn't relevant to mention that. Well, she mentioned every other minute detail of the day, except that.
She was trying to tell me that, maybe Darlie didn't remember this or didn't remember that. And I'm like, well, she remembered she put carrots in the chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's convenient. She told me on the phone call to me that, hey, I'm sorry about your son. I'll never use that against you. I'll never comment on that. And then I caught her commenting on it. And she's still over there laughing and joking while they're accusing me again of where I was on June 6, 1996. But she says I'm a weirdo and I'm a psycho and her sister is innocent.
It's dumb. It's dumb.
I mean, we could talk about family members if we wanted to. What's Darren's sister?
But it doesn't make Darlie innocent.
Darren's sister, Arienda. I can't say her name right.
I have no idea.
Arenda. Well, she's got a huge problem with drugs. They kept saying that when Beja did that interview with me, they were pissed about that interview. I'm telling you, it was so damning. But they kept saying, oh, she had a history of drug abuse and mental illness and blah, blah, blah. Well, when did she have this history? Before or after you let her hang on to Drake while you were spilling silly string over him? When did she have it? Because are you going to let somebody with mental illness and a drug problem hold your son's hands up while you spray silly string on your dead children? That person had mental illness? It seems like your decisions aren't very good about who you let around your kids, are you, Dennis Stahl?
No. Oh.
Well, and Danelle also told me, that she wasn't going to speak on the whole thing with Dennis Stahl. She wasn't going to speak on it. But Darlie's own testimony says, they asked her, why would you let him take your kids for the day? So you go to Mother's Day and visit Chippendales, which is no big deal. Why would you let him go if he did that to you? Why would you let them go? And she said, well, I knew that Danelle was going to be with them. But Danelle says she doesn't know anything about the sexual abuse, right? So how's Danelle going to keep her eye on her dad?
Everything about the case. So you either do or you don't. If she knew everything about the case, she would definitely know about that.
Mm-hmm. So if there's a history in my family, let's say I see where your son got it from. Okay, cool. I can't beat that, right? But there's also a history in Darlie's family of letting people commit crimes and letting them get away with it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to admit, I that did molest me as a kid. He just touched me. And as an adult, I never, ever let my children around him or any of siblings' children around him. Mm-hmm. You just don't.
No, because you don't trust it. There's no cure for that, in my opinion.
No. And even if you speculate it could have happened, even if a doubt in your mind it could have happened, you don't let your kids around them.
Darlie Flat said it happened, and Danelle says, well, my father's a wonderful father. Mm-hmm. Well, Darlie doesn't think so. I said, tell me, Darlie.
Father to Danelle, but he was a horrible stepfather to Darlie.
Well, tell me he didn't do it, and then that makes Darlie a liar.
Well, that's the conundrum that Danelle is in. She can't say that Darlie's lying about discrimination.
Nada, I'm so sorry that I don't have that channel, but I'm going to tell you, one of the reasons why I don't is because someone used the Darlie case, and I don't know. He claimed he knew the family, but I know he didn't know the family. But someone used the Darlie case to start an argument with me, and it just got to where my job was getting doxxed. My wife was getting threatened. My people, it was just blah, blah, blah. And that channel just got deleted. Period. No way for me.
Why do supporters find it necessary to go out personally? So we don't agree. You think she's innocent, I think she's guilty. That doesn't mean you go after me.
Well,
I'm not going after supporters.
Because they don't want people to listen to the truth. And that's why they come after me so much personally.
It makes them look like lunatics.
They are. Just like, and Tracy that came here earlier, she's a supporter of Darlie's, but she's also my friend. I like her. But when it comes to talking about Darlie, she just flies off the handle. She popped in here earlier. Well, it wasn't national news. We're playing semantics here. My son's case was not national news. Okay. Darlie committed the bigger crime. She got more views and more airtime. All right. But it's just a little bit of stuff, little tiny stuff like that. She's asking me, Tracy was mad at me because I called the Innocence Project up. What are you doing that for? Why are you doing that for?
Mike, you.
Well,
why can't you? I want to know.
For the same reason, because I think Danelle's lying is why. For the same reason they're putting up change.org things to get Officer David Waddell fired.
Oh, that pisses me off. That's the thing. When I watched the interviews with Waddell, that man struggled to talk about what he saw.
Sure did. And
he is visibly upset.
I've spoke to Waddell, and he still talks like that, but he doesn't want to do anything. But when I was a supporter, I felt like he was not telling the truth too, because if you watch that interview with him, he does look bug-eyed, but he keeps swallowing.
It's the swallow for me. That is, he is pushing back his emotions. That swallow, I have done that swallow myself. And he is doing that from memory. He's recalling what he saw, and it is affecting him.
They keep saying that as soon as Officer Waddell walked in that crime scene, he went in the bathroom and threw up. That's absolutely not true.
No, it's not true.
He didn't throw up. Then they criticized him for not helping Devin and Damon, right? So if he's down helping Devin and Damon, and she's saying that intruders went out the garage, and he's down, and that intruder attacks them again, then who's going to be in trouble for not watching him?
I like the theory of how Darlie is trying to direct Waddell to do different things to, I think, direct him away from something else.
Well,
look over here. Don't look at my kid still alive.
Yeah, she said. He says, I come down the stairs. She's going, Devin, 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 Devin. So she's leading him right to Devin.
Oh, but also Darren says when he came downstairs, she's going Darren, Darren, Darren.
He's changed. Yeah, he's changed it up a couple times.
He changed his story. Was it? And when I pointed that out and made a video about it, Danelle said, I don't see a difference. Well, you don't see a difference from him changing his story from Darlie saying Darren, Darren, Darren to Devin, Devin, Devin. That's a huge difference.
When Tina Church, when she interviewed Darren, they were trying to find innocence, right? She told me, on a live, she told me that Darren slipped up and said first thing he did when he came down them stairs is he grabbed Darlie and he shook her.
I bet he did.
Because he knew what she did.
Because immediately what happened.
Yeah, I've got that video of him saying Darren, Darren, Darren on my channel. And,
it's one of my TikToks too.
Yeah, and the thing, the whole thing with them leaving out the fact that they were arguing that night was like one of the first things that, and Danelle saying that's irrelevant. I said, the police are asking them what happened through the whole...
relevant.
Yeah, and she says it's not relevant, it has nothing to do with the case. And then she said, well, they didn't want to look guilty. She flat says that to me. You can see it.
Freudian slips constantly.
when she said, "Well, I just didn't want to see my dad in a bad light," right?
Another Freudian slip.
Right,
And then Darlie could just go on her own.
Right, and then she made another comment about Sandra Halsey and her daughter. Her daughter was the recorder, and she said that's her that's her mom. She's not going to tell on her. Why not? If my son came to my house and told me, "Dad, I just killed this baby,"
I'm not gonna lie for him.
I'm not lying for him.
Hell no.
His mother would. Oh yeah. His mother would. His mother could have seen him doing it.
Wow.
And people, people really think, well, yeah, blah blah blah. I have issues with sending my kid any money because at the back of my head tells me.
He didn't deserve it.
No, the back of my head tells me that I am flat out supporting a baby killer.
Right.
And that's the facts. So I don't get upset when people call Darlie a baby killer, and I don't get upset if people, because that's what it is. I understand that. But he's my son and I love him. He's my son and I love him, but I'm not going out of my way to make him feel like it's okay, we're going to send you money, we're going to come visit you all the time. No, you're being punished.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing fine in there. He's not having any trouble. But, his mom's always, well, you got a little bit you can send to him, you got a little bit you can send to him. And I finally told her, I said, you need to stop asking me that. Because I got teenage girls here, I got a house I got to pay for, I got a wife here, and every time I give money to him, he's got a place to live, he's got clothes to wear, he's got food to eat.
Right, what does he need money for?
He doesn't need money. He's got a hustle going in there. He's doing fine. And I tried to convince him when they offered him an 11-year deal. I tried to convince him. I said, you better take that deal. Well, Dad, I didn't do anything. I said, look, I'm your dad, dude. I'm your dad. Take the deal. And he didn't take it. So he'll be lucky if he ever gets out. He goes up for parole in 2034. And they'll probably flop him for 10 years the first time. That's if they're not fond of letting people that have done that to children out for any reason. Because if they get out and do it again, and you find out they have some kind of psychological problem where they want to kill kids, then it's on the state that let him out. Now I don't
think Darlie would kill any other kids.
Well, the jury The jury felt that the mitigating factors were that if she were to have a life sentence and have any chance of getting out, that she would kill again.
I felt like had she got out then, that something could have happened to Drake possibly. But if she got out now, I don't think she would do anything.
And she said, she said people don't just snap. Yes, people do just snap all the time.
Absolutely. Also, of course, they call all the junk science. The BPA, everything that they say is junk science is not junk science to me. I did watch a whole interview with this panel of 4 body language experts. That was very interesting.
I know who you're talking about.
Those people don't know her. They're not conspiring against her either. They take everybody and analyze it. It's very interesting information, and I think they're spot on with Darlie. I mean, she is such an actress.
And she is very dangerous because she's convincing. And she had me convinced that she didn't do it. I always thought that Darren did it. I was writing to her back and forth. And you know what?
Yeah, I never wavered on what I thought. And I have a hard time trying to put myself in a supporter's position. And I cannot, for 1 second, think she's innocent.
Well, I tell you, I was writing to her back and forth. And she liked to talk about music. And she just really... She wouldn't talk about the case, And so when I left support, the day that Darren put up his Facebook page.
And so what deciding factor that changed your mind? I'm curious.
Well, I'm going to get to that.
Awesome.
So Darren puts up this Facebook page. He's never had one up. And I don't know how long ago this was. And I saw it, and I go look at his page, and it doesn't say anything about the crime, nothing about help find his killer, nothing about it, no memorial for his boys or nothing. So I messaged Mama Darlie. I'm like, have you seen Darren's Facebook page? She goes, I didn't know he had one. I said, he just opened one up today. I said, I'm wondering why he's not helping with this calls or whatever. And she went over, took a look at it, and she flipped out on me. Not on me about Darren. She goes, there he goes again, messing with them bimbos. She goes, he talks too much. She said, I've always thought he had something to do with this.
Oh.
She told me this, right? So I go over into Free Darlie, the Free Darlie private group, and I tell them, I say, hey, what's up with Darren's Facebook? Why is he not trying to help in support of this? Blah, blah, blah. And they were telling me, oh, you just leave Darren alone and let it be. I said, I'm telling you, the reason I'm here is because I feel like Darren is the one that committed this crime, right? And back then, that was a no-no. You never talked about Darren. You don't do that. And so they started to attack me, right? And I'm like, whoa. I said, I'm not the only one that thinks Darren committed that crime. I said, Mama Darla thinks he did it too. She goes, she does not. She loves him. Blah, blah, blah. And so I said, oh, really? And I took her to chat, and I put it in the room. And Darlie still called me a liar. She said,
oh my God.
Yeah, she said, that's not what I said. I don't know how you did that, blah, blah, blah. That's strike one right there. I'm like, why is she lying about this? Why is she saying one thing in private and something else in public? That was strike one. That was like, okay, the lies, the lie. That's where I started to not, look into the lies. And then I was running the Free Darlie public page. That was my page. And Pam came in. That's how I met Pam. She would keep coming over there. And she would say, Darlie, this, and put the facts up. And I didn't want to look at them. And I told Pam, I said, if you say that she's guilty one more time in this group, I'm going to boot your ass. And I booted. She did it, and I booted her. But Pam never gave up. She kept sending me articles. Kept saying, Bryan, just read this for yourself. So it started out with Darlie Key. I couldn't believe she told that lie. All right. So once I started to see that I felt like she's not innocent, what I did was I went to my group and I posted, look, I don't feel like she's innocent anymore. I can't do this. I'm not doing any justice for being here. So I gave the group to David Moffett and I left. And my intention was just to leave the whole Darlie case alone. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I wasn't going to go over to the non-supporter side. Pamela showed me enough. I was just going to leave it alone. But the supporters started attacking me. The big-time supporters, they said that I was writing Darlie letters back and forth, and that I was writing Darlie love letters, and she rejected me, so that's why I left support. And I showed the letters that I had from her, where we're talking about my wife. Most guys don't hit on a woman and talk about their wife. I mean, that kind of throws it. And tell Nicole I say hello. Darlie was saying blah blah blah. But the one who really put that lie to rest was Darlie herself, because Richard Wright went to see her and asked her, was I hitting on her? And she said no. Darren Gross, another one of her boyfriends, she said no. Rich Prater, he asked, was he ever sending you any inappropriate letters? And she said no. So that Darlie didn't lie. I never had any type of attraction to her. I just felt like that she was just this poor innocent woman that's sitting there in jail because her husband killed these kids.
I never thought she was the blonde bombshell.
No.
I don't think she's attractive. I don't think she's ugly by any. Well, I mean, she's not as attractive anymore, but at the time, everything's fake. The hair color is fake. The makeup was so heavy. The fake boobs, everything. I'm sorry, and it wasn't a jealousy thing. Trust me.
And listen to Darren. He says, well, I got the biggest house on the block and the most beautiful wife on the block. And then there was this blonde-headed woman that did an interview right in front of her house. That was absolutely beautiful. I mean, he doesn't have the biggest house on the block. Look at Gorsuch's house. It sold for $670,000.
I think somebody, it may have been Sully, I'm not positive. She gets everything wrong. But somebody said it was over a 3,000 square foot house. No, it wasn't. It was like 2,700 square feet.
The house is not as big as it looks. I mean, it really isn't.
No, it's not. It's not.
But the way that it's set up and designed is just absolutely perfect. You know what I'm saying? That'd be something I wanted. The way they designed it was just absolutely perfect. The kids had a big room. You know, it was just perfect.
Definitely very nice for mid-90s.
Yeah, I think he paid $180,000 for it, and right now I think it's sold for $460,000.
I don't recall, but I did look at the listing. I like to look at it.
Yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful house. And then going in, you know, it just feels so homey. It feels so comfortable in there. It's like very inviting the way they have it. And the drapes that are in that house now, those are the same drapes that have been hanging there. Yeah, they're the red drapes. They paid $12,000 for those drapes, and they sold the house with it. Yeah, those pictures.
And then the red with the spa, and then there's all of that about the security light and the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody went through that gate. Nobody went through that gate.
No, and I don't know if that's the same gate that they have on there now, but she said she told Darren to fix the gate that night. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Kind of coincidental, and again, there are no coincidences.
Yeah, but the just the outside of that house, they spent $6,000 on the spa, or the fountain, and the spa out back. They paid $9,000 for that. And she was trying to claim that, you know, some guy from way down the street could see her sunbathing in the spa. Did you ever hear that story?
I think I've heard that.
She just, I mean...
She was sucking herself and Darren was sucking on her. I mean, it wasn't all bad. It just wasn't.
No, I wish that, you know, my wish for the supporters is if they think that she's innocent, my wish is that they are able to prove that to everybody.
Yeah.
I would be happy. I'd be happy for them.
Heart.
I'd be very happy for them if they could do that. You know, because I wouldn't feel stupid if the state of Texas, you know, duped me. I wouldn't feel dumb. That'd be on the state of Texas for telling that lie.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't feel dumb that I thought she was guilty the whole time. I would probably feel like an asshole. But to me, they presented the case in a way that I have no doubt at all.
No doubts.
Never had, not one.
I don't have any doubts today. As a supporter, I sat with doubts. And there were doubts. And on this side of it, I have no doubts. There's no what ifs. There's just too much. Well, you know, maybe somebody came in the house and did that insurance job. Okay, well then it's up to Darren to tell who it was. I have no doubts. No doubts. You know why he don't tell who it was? Because he didn't ask nobody to break in his house.
Why would he be screaming who it was?
Right. Then he says he went to Bob Key and asked Bob Key about it because Bob Key is a convicted thief. He goes to Bob Key. What kind of son-in-law?
Right.
What kind of son-in-law would literally do that? But see, the whole story is, if you ask Skip Hollingsworth about that story, is they were all talking about it. Darlie caught wind of it and got pissed off and left. So she knew. Beja told me she knew about insurance scams. Yes.
Yeah, so why didn't they go with that? I mean,
You know, and when you ask them, why don't you pressure Darren to tell those names, they just don't want to talk about it.
no.
They want to ask the public to send the Innocence Project leads, but they don't want to ask their ex, you know, brother-in-law, tell us these fucking names, because Darren can't. And they know that if they push Darren, that he can't, and that the whole story was made up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Darren really did show up at Pardo's house with a gun. And the billionaire Pardo had a crush on Darlie. Brian Pardo had a huge crush on Darlie. He wanted to prove that Darren did it. And that's where you see the interview with Darren on the lie detector that he failed. And one of the questions that he failed on was, do you know the name of the person who did this to your children? And the thing with Pardo though is he just had he wanted to lock Darren up and bed Darlie's what with him. But if you look up what happened to Brian Pardo, he was a crook. He's a crook. I think he's lost all of his money. He's convicted. She says, I think it's supporters bring up. Did Blake come in here? I think the kid's name was David Blakely, right?
So.
Where it sounds like it really does sound like Darren saying, did Blake come in here? There was a kid in the neighborhood that had a questionable.
Oh, that. See, I heard somebody else made a post saying that he said was Drake in here, and then the person says, Darlie says, I got it. But I don't hear any of that in the recording at all. I don't hear any of that.
It sounds to me like he's saying, did Blake come in here? Yeah, Barry Fife. Barry Fife is a questionable individual. All right. They will tell you that Darlie and Barry Blakeney, yeah, Darlie and Barry Fife. Barry Fife was the guy that owned autos. It was Auto something. The name of it. It was an auto place right across from Tesnique. He was also the person, in my opinion, that was supplying Darren with his cocaine. And Darren says that Barry Fife stole the white Jaguar, right? And, but Cyrilda said that white, Basie told me that white Jaguar was sitting in Hamilton, Ohio. Basie said she knew all about that scam too, and Basie said that they tried to get her to go in on some insurance scam in the house. She said, so this scam thing was kind of something, they were talking about this stuff to make money.
I still think they're honest people all the way around.
They were living below their means, and Darren knew that if he didn't keep her happy, shop till you drop Darlie, that she was just going to try to leave him or something. But in all reality, if Darren would have told her to get out, here's Darlie with no work experience except for Western Sizzling. They could say that she worked at Tesnique, but that's Darren's, right? And here he is with this house, and the mother that's in working with children, in casa. He would have gained custody of them. In my opinion, she wasn't gonna be able. Hey.
She thinks I took her gun, and that's
I don't care. I don't care. Be quiet. Hey, but see.
Damn kids.
Yeah, they're supposed to be in bed. I have teenagers. Hang on a second. Hold on. Did you hear me? They know better. But somebody will take that and say, you interrupt me again, I'll beat that ass. Hey, have I ever beat that ass? No.
This reminded me of all those memes after Christmas that said, somewhere there's some mom yelling, I'll take all this shit back.
I'm the one that protects them. Mom will discipline them. Yeah, that's my wife in the background. She will discipline it. I'll be like, no, you leave that baby alone. You leave that girl alone. What's wrong with you?
They get no discipline with him. You're fat. No.
Okay, so I don't know why my house is so loud this late at night, but I'm going to shut this down. We'll do this again.
I'm off this call. I'm pretty tired myself.
Yeah, I got 2 doctor's appointments tomorrow, but we'll do this again sometime. If Sully and them keep up, maybe we'll learn to present what she's putting out and debate it up here or something. But
I'll be better prepared next
I want to, as long as they're out there spreading them lies, we can be out here spreading the truth.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Thank you for coming up. And
Absolutely.
everybody, thanks for watching. Peace and
Good
chicken
night.
grease.